What is his future with San Antonio?
Gentlemen, I do not want to live in a world where Kawhi Leonard and Greg Popovich aren't a part of the San Antonio Spurs and furthering the excellence they've already established. But I do believe this summer he will entertain the idea of other suitors in other cities. I truly believe when the opportunity comes for him to sign his $200+ million extension this summer, so we don't have to wait long for the answer. There's going to be a lot of people speculating based on what he said yesterday. What do you expect a man that's injured when somebody sticks a microphone in his face and say, are you going to be here next year? You go ask somebody for the Nets that question, they're going to say yes. You're not going to answer at this point of the season, but I do feel when this offseason comes, it's going to be interesting and it's going to be obvious if and when he does not sign that lucrative extension.
Well, in fairness to you, I've heard the same thing. I've heard that he's going to be entertaining stuff simply because his uncle, who's the man in charge, has basically made it very, very, very clear this is a man that's not beholden to the San Antonio Spurs. He's of the mindset that the San Antonio Spurs should be beholden to Kawhi. Take Kawhi off the San Antonio Spurs, and what do you have? You have the greatness of Greg Popovich, but a relatively average team, a team that's 37-27, #1 defensively, but near the bottom 3 in the league in offense. And so what you have is a situation where he's their lone star, and he's the one reason you'd be interested in coming to San Antonio. Not to say that Greg Popovich is not, but what is the San Antonio Spurs? What are the San Antonio Spurs without Kawhi Leonard? So he's not somebody that's going to sit out there and try to make news and generate headlines by being a bit cantankerous or abrasive in any way. And maybe there's no truth to this at all. But one thing that I do know is that there are people in the league who have talked about his uncle pretty much running the show. And the fact that he's running the show and he's made it clear that Kawhi is not going to be somebody who feels beholden to the San Antonio Spurs opens or elevates the level of substance, Jalen, to what you're saying. That's what's going on. Whether Kawhi has something to do with it, one must surmise that he does, because if this is the man leading you, okay, you're the guy that put him out front and center, we're going to attach what he's saying to Kawhi Leonard. Again, I don't know what the truth is, in fairness to the San Antonio Spurs, but it is what you hear people around the NBA saying right now.
I don't think Kawhi is going anywhere, and I'll tell you why. Because in order to leave San Antonio, he's going to have to give up tens of millions of dollars. It's not a couple bucks here or there. It's 10. Now, whether you can get back in a more lucrative endorsement deal if you're in a bigger market, I don't know. But on the table will be, because it's not just that you get an extra guaranteed year, you also get more money each year. It's the reason the NBA sets the rules up this way in the CBA, so that in that negotiation, the league wants players to not move around so much. Home teams, small markets can retain their stars, and that's a huge incentive for Kawhi. There's another incentive, and I want to be very clear about this. Kawhi Leonard's one of the best players I've ever seen. He's an incredibly great and underrated player. So I'm not down on Kawhi when I say this, any more than I'm down on Tom Brady when I credit Belichick. Tom Brady would have been a great player no matter what. The fact that he had Belichick made him the greatest quarterback of all time. Belichick, in other words, is the reason for that, even though Brady would have been great without him. Same thing here with Kawhi and Popovich. Kawhi was going to be excellent no matter where he was. I believe he's the best version of himself because he is playing for the best coach, period. And I don't know that you want to leave that. Whatever pressures Uncle's putting on, however curious he may be what he can do without Popovich, if he was more assertive, Stephen A., if his usage rate even went up and he took more chances on offense and was a little less responsible all the time, maybe yes, but I think that's outweighed by the knowledge that what he has is so excellent there. I would say one dark horse in terms of signing Kawhi. If the Los Angeles Lakers, he's from that area, if the Lakers were able to sign Paul George, and they have Kuzma and Paul George, and Ingram continues to improve, and Lonzo turns out to be the goods, and all that stuff, and they, at that point, L.A. will become extremely attractive, I think, to Kawhi or his uncle or whomever. But barring something like that, I don't think Kawhi is going anywhere.
Where do you think he could go, Jalen?
I agree with Max. If he was to decide to leave, it probably would be to his hometown team. But also for Kawhi, it's a unique situation, guys, because he had so much success as a young player, as Max attributed to the San Antonio Spurs way. But I want to part ways with you on that one, Max, as it relates to Belichick and Brady, as it relates to Pop and Kawhi. That's the equivalent of saying somebody's done really good in life or really good in their career, but you want to separate the fact that they had good parents. You can't do that. They go hand in hand. Because, by the way, Belichick has not had the success without Tom Brady. However, Pop has had success without Kawhi. So those are kind of two different situations. But when you see Kawhi, he would have to take a $40 million haircut for that fifth year. And that is a ton of money. And personally, I wouldn't walk away from it. I would sign the deal. And if I was unhappy, then I would worry about it. I would sign on the dotted line. But this is probably why you see other things taking place, like him not agreeing to his Brand Jordan deal. And there are a lot of people talking about what his worth is in that market. I believe, from what I see players getting from shoe deals, Kawhi Leonard at $5 million would be a bargain. I understand why he didn't agree to that deal. So based on what you're saying, now let's connect the dots. You want to get more money via your endorsements because you understand that you may lose a bit of your money on your contract initially. Just putting that out there.
Well, let me say this also. When you hear about Kawhi Leonard and possible destinations, the number one city you hear about is L.A. I just think we need to be careful about constantly mentioning the Lakers. And I'm not talking about Kawhi here and right now. I'm talking about the L.A. market. Everybody is under this assumption that because the Lakers have room for two max players, you know what? Everything is about Magic Johnson and the Lakers. There is an individual in town whose name is Jerry West, who is a consultant for the Los Angeles Clippers, but is basically running basketball operations. I don't give a damn what anybody says. He is hell-bent on competing with Magic Johnson. He is hell-bent on competing with the Los Angeles Lakers. And if you look at some of the moves that they have made, essentially what you're talking about, building supplementary pieces to set the stage for a star to ultimately arrive in Los Angeles, but not necessarily for the Lakers. I believe in the purple and gold. I believe in Magic Johnson, but I do think it's important, Jalen, and I think you would agree with this. Jerry West is coming, and Jerry West is trying to make sure he is competing with the Los Angeles Lakers. And everybody in the NBA has been put on notice in that regard. Don't assume everything LA is just about the Lakers.
I agree with you, Stephen A., but that's also going to be a show me. And in the era where we're talking about players leaving a team that drafted them and joining super teams, i.e. KD, where he had success, we should probably also be applauding guys like Dame Lillard and Anthony Davis, who got drafted by teams. Were you ready for this, Max? Re-signed with those teams, didn't have to worry about going to the large market, and now all of a sudden are having success with those teams.
All right, we got to let you go. Meanwhile, the Spurs in danger of missing the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. 15 of their 18 final games are against teams with winning records. Jalen, appreciate you. We'll see you on all your 80 shows. Still to come, JJ Watt.
81 shows.
No, I didn't go there. Are not happy with the meeting.